Thank you for listening to The Afternoon Pint. We are an independent podcast and we need your support. Please take a moment to hit that like, follow, and share button. Email us if you have an idea or suggestion for the show. Please send your feedback. We'd love to hear from you.
Cheers!
Yay!
Cheers!
Welcome to The Afternoon Pint. I'm Mike Tobin.
I am Matt Conrad. And who do we have here?
My name is Sonja O'Hara, and I am an Emmy-nominated writer, director, and actress, originally from Halifax, Nova Scotia, who lives and works in Los Angeles, California.
Awesome. Emmy nominated. So let's lead with that. What did you get nominated
Absolutely. Yeah, it was during the COVID era, and I had previously written and directed a series that was on AMC here in the States. There's like a division of AMC that's specifically for horror movies and things like that.
Yeah.
And I had written this limited series called Doomsday about a matriarchal cult. And I ended up making another third episode of it, and that got nominated for Best Original Limited Series, in 2021. So then I was able to add Emmy nominee, which I think has probably opened doors for me as both an actor and a filmmaker, but also when I'm able to bring in financing for my own films as a director, because the more accolades you have and the more institutional credibility, the more that you're certainly able to have people that want to invest in your work.
I love post-apocalyptic stuff. Like, what was Doomsday about? Like, what was the gist of it?
Yeah, it was about this interesting older lady who has this very secretive sort of sect that is deep in the forest, and she ends up getting a lot of runaways and hitchhikers, and it very much fits into the Jonestown kind of thing, that you have a lot of lost souls that are coming together. And this is a cult that denies any sort of reproduction. So of course, the second that you ban sex, that's going to instantly make it a hothouse for tension and chaos. So it ended up being this dark, sexy, messed up sort of cult series. And that got me signed with one of the biggest agencies in the world. And then I started getting to opportunities to direct big movies for other people. And that was never really the plan. I've been an actor since I was 10 years old in Halifax, and I had been taking classes at Neptune as a little kid. And I always knew I was going to be an actor, but I never intended to direct. It just sort of happened to me.
So LA. Wow.
Before we do that, I knew that she was going to be an actor because I've been watching her since elementary school.
It's true.
In plays. So yes.
I have never not acted in my whole life. So it was one of those things that I think I dorkily wrote in the 6th grade yearbook that I was going to be an actor. And then again in 9th grade and again as a senior in high school. I've just never wanted to do anything else and have been very aggressively pursuing this, even though it took me a really long way.
Go to the U.S. Why did you leave Canada for an acting career? I guess
I remember when I was at grade 12 at J. Leslie High School, and I remember that I went to the Atlantic Film Festival to go and see a talk, and there was a casting director that was talking about discovering the actress Rachel McAdams, and she basically said that if you wanted to be able to sort of compete on the world stage and not just be a local performer, but to be able to sort of go all the way, that all of the Canadian actors went to the States. And it's not always the case now. And there are people still that break out that are able to stay at home. But I was like, okay, all the actors that if you're Ryan Gosling or anyone else, you end up going and need to be able to work in the States. So I knew, because I have no American family members and I'm not a Nepo baby and I'm not from any sort of, this side of the industry, I thought to myself, I need to train and go to theater school in New York City so I can get a visa to be able to work in the States. Cool. So I did that and got the O1, and I went through the whole immigration thing. It took 10 years to become a dual citizen, but I made sure I was I'm keeping my Canadian passport and healthcare no matter what. No one's taking that from me.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's a whole crazy path.
That's amazing.
I mean, 17 years old, moving to the, right out of high school, moving to the U.S., not just moving to the U.S., but moving to New York City. One of the largest
It
cities
was
in the world.
bonkers.
Yeah.
It was insane. Like, when I think back now, like, my poor sweet mother, you know, in her fishing village, like, she just had it was so, like, I am very lucky. I'm not from any sort of money, but my mother remortgaged her house to send me to acting school in New York
Wow.
because
My
the
God.
cost of American education is obscene. Like, it's incredibly problematic how expensive all of these schools are, and I got the maximum student loans and scholarships, and it would not have been a possibility if my mother hadn't done that. So it definitely
Amazing of your
changed the
mother.
course of my
Wow.
life. Yeah, she's the best. And we
Now,
still
You
does your
speak,
mother still
basically.
live in I think in the Harrietsfield area, you said? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
She
case?
lives
Yeah.
in Williamswood,
Cool.
and I still talk to her almost every day, and we're very,
Right.
very close. And I'm very grateful to have had support like that because I know so many people who didn't get that at home. And it gives you imposter syndrome, I think. Like, I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that factor into being able to have the resilience to stay in a field with so much rejection. Like, I get rejected every single day. And now, of course, you know, social media, you get to see all the positive things, and it's wonderful. And I'm very grateful that I'm in a period of time right now where I am getting a lot of work, but no
Hmm.
one gets to see the other side of the industry. And I think that if I didn't come from a family that was so supportive, I don't know that mentally, like, I see people in LA all the time that are having mental breakdowns, and I'm like, dude, I get it. Like, if I didn't come from a supportive group of people, I think it would be a lot harder.
The
Well,
first thing
and
that
like,
comes to mind to me as a maritimer, it's like your dialect. Like, my gosh, I know we have a very specific brand of dialect. I know this personally, and I can't leave. I can't really leave Halifax without somebody pointing that out to me. But like, tell me
Yes.
about that because when I listen to you, I do not hear someone from Sambro, someone from Williamswood. I've
Took
lived there, so I can
classes.
say that. Yeah.
When I was 15 years old in Halifax, there were these movies of the month that were Lifetime movies that were shooting there. And my agent in Halifax at the time said that if I wasn't able to do a standard American dialect, I wouldn't book. So I took this ACTRA class on how to neutralize my Nova Scotian sound. And still, after a couple drinks, my friends out here will make fun of me because I'll go from saying like out and out and about and mouth to oat and a boat and hose, and it comes out. But I've had to, unless I'm really angry or really tipsy, you'll never hear it. But yeah, I had to take Americanese class, they called it, and
Molly,
you
is
had
that
to
class
put a
still
cork.
available? I need it. I
Yeah,
really do.
you're like
Yeah.
asking for a friend. But no,
Yeah.
yeah.
it was, and I still have to make sure like I'm around other Americans to keep it when I go back to Halifax for Christmas. Every time the regionalism slips back in. But I love the sound of it. I just want to be able to also play people from other places.
Of
No,
course.
that's fair. So, I mean, like, kind of back to like, you know, you really kind of doubling down on yourself. Your mother definitely doubling down on you. I mean,
Yes.
I think it's a pretty interesting story to go from Williamswood, which is a very, very small town outside of Halifax, and
Yes.
you know, now living in LA, and taking a huge risk. Like, you hear of stories of actors and actresses and people just in the film industry talk about
Yeah.
all the craziness that they've had to go through. And I mean, you took a huge
It's
risk.
insane.
I feel like it's paying off for you though, because I mean,
Thank you.
Emmy nominated, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
good. Next
No,
is
it's been
Emmy
wonderful.
winner.
Yes, yes, that's definitely the goal. I will say with all of this stuff, when I first moved there, being young and naive is such a helpful thing. Like, I really think that when I arrived in New York, I had I didn't know one person in the entire United States. So that's bonkers, right? Like, moving to a country where you know no one. I didn't know how to drive. I didn't have my license. I was just this, you know, kid, but I was so ambitious and so obsessed, and I just did it. And now when I look back, I was like, wow, that was really naive. I absolutely, all kinds of terrible things could have happened. But I think I was really focused on school. When I was in New York, I was making sure I could I was auditioning constantly. I think I was late to sort of meet a lot of this, like the coming of age sort of things that happen to you in college, because I already felt like I'm a stranger in a strange land. If anything goes wrong, I could be deported. And now, in a world of ICE and all of the terribly problematic American politics,
Yeah.
it's obviously everyone's very aware of that. But being an 18-year-old from Canada in a city where you know no one, I was just constantly worried. And I was told that if you ever had any sort of legal thing that were in any way affiliated with, you wouldn't be able to stay and work in the States. And then I thought to myself, then I'll never win an Oscar. So I do think there was like an element of fearfulness at a young age that kept me on like a super straight and narrow path. And then,
Sure. Yeah.
you grow up and you chill out and all of that. But I do think
Yeah.
for a long time, I like joke I was an actor, but I was also a nun because I was just like, I'm getting one chance to be able to break in and make it. Otherwise, I would have to come back. And Canada's amazing. And I'd be so lucky to come back, especially, with everything we're talking about now in the current climate. But I knew that if I wanted to sort of be able to have the career that I wanted, I needed at least the opportunity to be able to also work in Hollywood.
Amazing you had that foresight. I got to ask though, did you end up getting your driver's license or what?
No. So this is crazy. I do not drive, and I am one
Okay.
of the many New Yorkers that lived in New York and then now live in LA who Uber everywhere and take Waymos. And
Yeah.
I'm probably never going to drive. So
Never
That's
going to drive. Okay.
that's
Yeah.
you know what? That's a thing that I didn't even really like. I don't think fully comprehended until I started watching How I Met Your Mother like a long time ago, and
yes,
and a lot of them, because like some of them on the show, like some of them had like Marshall from Minnesota had his driver's license and a car,
yes.
but the ones who lived in New
Yes.
York like didn't, and I was kind of like,
No one in New York drives. It's a really crazy thing. If you live upstate, if you live outside of the city, but the crazy thing is you'll see celebrities on the subway every day. You'll see the mayor on the subway. It's like this great unifier. In LA, there's more of, unfortunately, a stigma
You
and
mean
like
Gavin? You see
anti.
Gavin on the subway?
Yes.
No,
Here
what?
you won't. In New York,
No.
you will. In
Okay.
LA, there's an unfortunate, like a classist divide, and no one takes public transportation, but everyone Ubers and Waymos, and yeah,
Oh,
crazy.
okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
it is funny too. It's like, you watch like a show like Entourage and they talk about like going from New York to LA and about how like wide open LA feels and things like that. And it's just, to me, again, it's like it's a weird concept of thinking like LA is like, oh, it's so wide open and everything. But I guess when, LA doesn't have, unless you're downtown LA, they don't have skyscrapers. You probably don't feel as closed in, right?
You don't. It doesn't really feel like a city in the way that I want it to. Like there's now lots of reasons that I love LA, but New York is to me it's the real city. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you're just amongst people 24/7 and there's a
That's a
vibe and
monster of a
and
place.
it's incredible. And I'm there a lot for work and I look forward to being able to be bi-coastal again. LA is wonderful in that you have space. Like I have a beautiful bungalow in LA. In New York, I would never be able to have the life that I live in LA. Like there, you're on top of each other and like wealthy people are living in tiny places. So if you're an artist, it's really unrealistic that you're going to have any sort of property,
Right.
Right. Right.
So what really kind of like, how many years did you spend in New York? And then what was the moment you're like, nah, I'm going west?
I hope you're enjoying a pint with us. We'll be right back. Your dream home does not have to be just a dream. Today's show is brought to you by Camilla Najat of Exit Realty Metro. Camilla is the realtor who knows how to get things done. Buying or selling? Go to afternoonpint.ca and we will help with a personal introduction. That's afternoonpint.ca/Camilla to make your dreams become a reality.
I did 10 years in New York, and they say it takes 10 years to become a New Yorker. So from 17 to 27, I was in New York. Some of that time I'd be going back and forth for acting things, but 10 years in New York, fell in love with the city. I'm still obsessed with it. I was back a couple months ago for a Tribeca Film Festival thing. It's great, but I just kept on hearing that if I wanted to be pursuing film and not just Broadway, that I had to be in LA. So I did it reluctantly. I signed with a big agency. They were like, Sonja, when will you be moving out to LA? And I was like, oh, it's the plan to spend more time there. And they're like, great, so you'll be here in August. And I was like, okay, this is happening. We're doing this right now. So, and then you just jump in. And Yeah, but most of my friends out here are still former New Yorkers or they are immigrants from other places. Like I have so many friends here that are other actors and writers and directors from other places that are from Greece and Australia and England. You just have a melting pot. Like as much as there's the stereotype of LA people, and that exists, and those are definitely, you'll meet all the influencer people and all of that, but there are also just really hardworking artists from all over the world who are all hell-bent on doing something significant, and you'll find a lot of really cool people too.
Yeah.
Did you have any moments where you thought, hey, I just like to go back to Canada? I wish I could go back. Or did you feel like that you were just in the right place and not look back?
I don't think I've ever looked back. I think I felt fearful that if I didn't make it, I would have to go back because it's just so expensive living in New York and LA.
Yeah.
But I've never, other than when I've had health things and I've thought, oh my God, I am definitely like, I always thought for the first 5 years, I didn't get health insurance in the States because I just said, like, if anything happens to me, I'll just fly back to Nova Scotia. And luckily I was healthy and nothing happened, but it could have gone very badly.
A flight is probably much cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Way cheaper. Yeah.
But
as long as you
apparently
can get
if you
on the
break-
plane.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But if you like break your arm in LA and you fly back to Canada, apparently you have to wait something like 24 or 48 hours or something before they will treat you as a regular resident, because otherwise people do this all the time. So I haven't tested this out, but that's what they say.
That's
Fair
something that's crazy that's a problem that they actually had to prepare for, people flying across the border to get
Isn't that awful? I know that's really, that's telling.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
it's
tells
probably
a lot.
not as super popular with people in like LA, but you got to think of people in like Chicago or Detroit. It's probably really popular.
Yeah, dude.
It's so close, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So just crossing a bridge in a lot of cases, or a quick little trip, like Buffalo just crosses. Anyone who's living in Buffalo can just cross over, right? Like no problem. Yeah.
I mean, they're basically Canadians for sure. I think that if you are living on the border, it would make perfect sense. But now I'm going through all of the things, even though I am a dual citizen, I'm from Canada, to be able to shoot this next movie in Canada and have that count as a telefilm project.
That's awesome.
There's this point system where you have to have a certain amount of Canadians in key positions. So your star has to be Canadian. It has to be Canadian written, Canadian directed, Canadian produced. And like I qualify as a number of those because I wear multiple hats and I act and write and direct and all of that. But they were upset that my cinematographer is from the States. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's like the one person from my team. I'll hire everyone else locally in Windsor, Ontario. But it's and it makes sense because you want to give that kind of.
It makes sense because I mean, and actually, I'd probably be pushing for them to live on Canadian soil if it was me running it. No disrespect.
No, and that makes sense, right? Because you want to give those grants to people that are making real Canadian content and stories about Canada. You don't want somebody flying in from another place and like taking those funds and using them to make a story that doesn't reflect like the Canadian culture. So I totally see that, but it's other places don't, like the rest of the world looks at what Canada does for the arts as a really incredible thing because you are not getting money as an American from the government to make art. Like absolutely not, you know?
For sure. I get that 100%. I gotta ask you though, when did you feel like this dream, this crazy dream of yours really hit and you kind of you broke through? Or what was your first kind of breakthrough role or whatever in the US where you were like super proud and telling all your friends that you were, super jazzed for? Like what was the first big production?
Yeah, I mean, there was a movie that I auditioned for and got when I was maybe like 24 or something like that went to one of like the big like Sundance type festivals out here. And seeing yourself on the big screen. I went to the Cannes Film Festival one year in the south of France. That felt very cool and very exciting. But it feels like every time that now that I achieve a goal that I had in the past, by the time I achieve it, I'm like, okay, cool, that's awesome. I'm glad I got it, but I'm already on to the next. So the dopamine kick of achievement, actually, the more you achieve, the less it sort of acts like a drug, which is a crazy thing. So I don't know what that says about, mental health and going after your goals, but I think about that a lot.
There's no,
And,
I don't think there's anything wrong with being motivated, right? I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with, like, once you've achieved something to move on. I mean, I kind of get that feeling oftentimes where it's like, it's like I want to do something, and then it's like done, check, move on. What's next, right? So
Yeah, for sure. No, it's like I'm just always obsessed. Like until I win that first Oscar, I'm not gonna chill out.
so
Like I'm really
that's
going to
that's
be.
the big goal is getting to an Oscar. That's amazing. That's an
Yes.
awesome goal to have, man.
I think that is awesome.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. But yeah, it
Yeah.
makes you kind of crazy all the time. And like
Yep.
I was
Mike-
somewhere yesterday. Oh, sorry, go.
Oh no, I was gonna say, Mike, I think our goal should be to be that when she's walking on the red carpet on the Oscar, that we get to be there to interview her on the red carpet.
Yes.
Only we have
need to
beers
make
in
that
our hand
happen.
like we do now, and
Yeah, we'll bring beers.
Yes, see, it's
that'd
a
be
win.
fantastic. Absolutely.
I mean, I love that because they also love the idea of, press from like your your home.
Yeah.
So I think that when that happens, I'm gonna hit you both up.
Give us a show. We'd love to come by. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We were
Yeah.
very popular on the Atlantic Film Festival red carpet. We were
did
very
good,
popular.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We did really well. Yeah, we had lots of
Yeah.
fun questions.
Submit my new movie to the Atlantic Film Fest. I was just saying that earlier today to my partner that the Halifax Film Festival is wonderful and they show some
It's
of like incredible films.
I can't say enough about it. It has so much more mojo than you would think.
Yeah.
Being on this side of the world, like
It's
there's
come a long
lot of
way.
impressive people to come down. A lot of impressive projects. I saw one movie that I thought was one of the best movies I ever saw, and then there was 8 more just like it. Right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
that just speaks to the quality of work that's being submitted from Canada now. It's like the game has stepped up, right? There's some
And
real
from around the
passionate
world.
people.
Like it's a
Oh,
competitive
yeah.
festival elsewhere. I
Oh,
keep
yeah.
on meeting Americans that are like, "Oh, I went to this amazing festival in Halifax." And I was like, "Yeah, it's, it's great."
It's crazy to
So,
think. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, do you have to subsidize your life in any other ways as an actor these days? Like, is it still really hard to make it in
No.
LA?
I will say that because I came here on a visa that would not allow me to work in any field outside of acting, that sort of makes you not be able to do the struggling actress cliche of working at a restaurant. And that's probably the best thing that ever happened to me because I was forced to be able to stay in the country. I had to support myself within my exact field of study. Otherwise, you had to go back.
Right.
And
Makes sense.
and it was really hard, but it instilled in me sort of like an obsessive determination. And now for like the last 7 years, now it's not all from acting. I write and direct and I
Yeah.
produce. So, but
What side of the
every
writing?
year,
Like, I'm writing now, and that's something I'm big into. Like, I absolutely love writing. So, like, what got you into writing and to make that transition? Where did that spark hit?
So when I was 20 years old, I was working for a movie star as her personal assistant. And this was this
saw
older
this.
actress. Yeah, it was Faye Dunaway who won the Oscar for Bonnie and Clyde and Network and all of this. So I was
Oh,
working for
cool.
this
All right.
crazy old movie star. I mean, crazy in that she's had a crazy career, but she's also eccentric and like notably eccentric.
Notably,
And
yes.
she
Yeah.
said to me that if I wanted to have any autonomy over my career as an actress, that I had to self-produce. And she was like, you have to do that. And I
So
was like,
smart.
okay. So I went back to New York at around that time and I signed up for a screenwriting class. And I knew that that same teacher was teaching at NYU and Columbia and the big universities, but I couldn't afford any of that. I was a broke artist. But I saw that this teacher was teaching this class that was like $400. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this class. And I told the guy on day one, I am here because I'm going to write a screenplay and then I'm going to self-produce this and I'm going to make this as a movie. And and then I'm going to act in it. And he sort of looked at me like I was insane and was like, sure. And then I did. And within a year, I had made this first movie called Ovum when I was, in my early 20s.
I remember seeing that on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to do that, and I did it. And of course, your movies get stronger and stronger. But I just wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I threw out so many drafts of things and got so much feedback. And, it's that thing of it takes 10,000 hours to be able to do anything at a competent level. And I think for me, my perfectionism really, I was like, okay, both of my parents are teachers in Halifax, and I
Cool.
grew up with sort of a nerdy thirst for knowledge. I would read and see every movie growing up and like go to the Oxford movie theater that's no longer there and see every sort of like obscure art house release. So I knew the kind of work that I wanted to do, but they say there's that chasm early on between your ability and your taste.
Hmm.
So those first couple years, it's like you're wanting to write this thing that's going to win Sundance and change the world, but you are still going through the phase of being a writer where you're like rehashing the same cliches. And
Yeah.
then at some point, it gets stronger. And I just really recommend for writers that you never crowdsource everyone you know for feedback and instead are really strategic and go to the people that are doing the work that you actually want to make your work be like that, and only go to those people, because otherwise I think people weaken your point of view and why you're writing. So I always knew my goal is to write an A24 movie. I want to be making dark, provocative, and cerebral, like sexy HBO A24 neon kind of movies. And because of that, I was like, you know what? I need to be surrounded by those people. So I became the queen of the cold email. And I would write people that were the head of giant studios and get crazy meetings, like with the president of Lionsgate and like the head of
Wow.
casting at places.
Smokes.
And I
That's
got in
amazing.
every door that way. And then, in the beginning, they're like, they think you're cool and they're nice, but they're not going to hire you right away. And then I would just give everyone like an update of every month of like, this is a new thing that I've done, but I wouldn't overwhelm them. I wouldn't ask them to read a script or anything else. And then bit by bit, I was gaining trust of people that were ahead of me. And then eventually I went and directed a movie for Lionsgate. But it took me probably 4 years from when I wrote a cold email to be on set directing that movie. So yeah.
Wow. What? Okay, I like that. Your career sounds pretty awesome to me. So going back to, I wanted to ask you that first movie you wrote, like, or that first
Yeah.
screenplay you wrote. What was it about?
Yes. It was autobiographical because they say write what you know. I wrote about a young actress who was in New York who wanted to be taken seriously, who ends up selling her eggs and goes through this crazy process of egg donation in the States. And I really sold my eggs and made $100,000 and made my movie. So it was meta and
Oh,
insane
wow.
and
Whoa.
that was my first movie. So it changed my entire life.
That's an awesome concept, and I can't believe
Yeah.
like that you did that, and then you were brave enough to
Did it.
share the story and make a film out of it. That's ballsy,
Seriously.
right?
It was
For lack of
bonkers.
a better word, that's pretty good. Wow.
Thank you.
It's another like example of just like really like betting on you,
Mm.
Yes.
right?
I just knew that no one's entitled to anything. There was no reason for somebody to give me money to make a movie until I showed that I would make sure that I could deliver.
You put
And
it
there was
all on the line.
actually and somebody that went to high school with me in Halifax so before I went to JL Ilsley, I went to St. Pat's. And when I was there was somebody who was a year ahead of me that I didn't really know in high school, but through me posting on social media about my career, he reached out and gave me a chunk of money to make that first movie. And I will be grateful for that person, Jeff Forbes, for the rest of my life because he
That's
did that.
amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so someone from Halifax.
And then
Such a
going
cool thing.
forward, like you said so much there, I really want to talk about a few things that you just kind of told us there. Matt blipped out for a second, and he's back, and he blipped out again.
Okay.
Hopefully
Yeah,
he's okay.
I'm here. I'm here. Just my computer decided to do a random reboot.
Okay, so yeah,
No,
so all
no
good,
worries.
man. No worries. We were just talking, like you were just telling us, Sonia, all the crazy stuff you did. So you directed a film for MGM.
For Lionsgate, but yes.
Sorry, for
Mhm.
Lionsgate. Whoops.
Yes.
Okay, so what was that about? Like, what film is that?
It was, yeah, it was interesting. I was hired to direct a movie that somebody else had written, and it was called Mid-Century, and it stars Bruce Dern, the old, like,
Yeah,
Oscar-nominated actor, and Stephen Lang, who's the old guy in Avatar and the dude in Don't Breathe, and they're
yeah. And
wonderful.
Shane West.
And Shane West, who's
Yeah,
wonderful from,
Whoa.
that we grew up watching in A Walk to Remember. And it was amazing. I got to just come in and work with these world-class actors. And it was a horror movie, and I didn't write it. And my scripts are very different. They're a little bit more They're just very different than this. This was a more traditional horror movie, but it was an incredible experience. It really taught me how to direct, how to make movies that were bigger in scope than the kind of things that I was, coming up with on my own. And it gave me enough credibility that later, when I was going in and pitching on bigger projects, like I'm attached to direct one movie that stars Harvey Keitel. And it's like now I'm
Yeah.
being given the opportunity to direct heavyweight actors, but it came from like you just have to do it again and again, and then you get far more confident. Because before day one of going on that movie set, I was terrified. Like I was worried these dudes were going to eat me alive. And they still, the first few days, there's always trepidation, and they always want to make sure they are watching very carefully how you direct other actors in the cast and seeing if they like the sort of the performances you're getting out of those actors. Because if not, they don't want to potentially embarrass themselves. So everyone's very cautious, and then you gain their
Wow.
trust. And then they're
Yeah.
like, okay, Sonja can direct, and then they're chill. But yeah.
I hope you're enjoying a pint with us. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's Chip here from Don't Overthink It, Chip. Big shout out to the Afternoon Pint Media team for managing my content creator career. If your business needs support, big or small, hit up Afternoon Pint and learn more about our reputation for boosting foot traffic with curated storytelling for your business.
I think this is maybe like maybe this might be an East Coast thing, but like it's. Did you find it weird meeting like famous people?
Yes. It's wildly weird.
I'm not even someone who really gets like starstruck, but like when I was younger, I worked at a place that a lot of famous people would come into when they're in Halifax, and you get to meet them and whatever. And I didn't really care. I wasn't like, ooh, wow, like we closed the store down for William Shatner one time, kind of thing, right? Like,
Yes.
it's one of those things where it's like you don't care, but at the same time, it's kind of like I had this moment where like I met someone who was like pretty famous, and I was like, this person knows I know their name, but like normally I would introduce myself, and I'm like, like but I've had this like awkward moment where I was kind of like, do I just call them by their name because they know I know who they are, or do I like ask them their name like I would like everybody else? Like I don't know. It's this weird
It's
situation.
strange. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very weird thing. And I think that my favorite when I meet a giant actor like the Matt Damons or Leonardo DiCaprios or people like that, I find that those people are often very gracious and very kind, and they know that you, the person they're talking to, are probably going through an emotional whirlwind trying to navigate the social mores of that interaction. So most of the very successful people are lovely and gracious, and they're like, "Hi, I'm Matt," or "I'm Leo," and then it makes it easy so no one feels awkward. It's the people that want to make it that haven't,
Mm,
that are
yes.
posturing, that I find are the really difficult people to direct or
Yeah, I
interact
would
with,
get that for
because they're
sure. Yeah.
trying to be like, they want you to think they're
Like
bigger
you
than they
should know who I
are.
am
And
kind of deal. And
yes,
you don't.
yes.
And then they feel like, yeah.
And that's where the resentment comes in. And those are the people that I'm like, oh God, they're going to make it really hard on set. And sometimes I, direct those people and I'm like, okay, but, and and it is what it is, and it's fine. And you find a way, because we're all just humans and they want to look good on camera too. But it makes our lives harder. And it's really nice when people are just gracious and lovely.
Yeah. And kind of, I guess, going back to like the how you were talking about how you have to write and direct, because you did act in mid-century and you directed and everything, right? So
Mhm.
there is something to be said about grassroots arts where it's like if you're not getting roles, create them.
Yes, completely. And now it's an
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
thing, because I'll say it's a bit sexist in our industry that men like Bradley Cooper and Robert Redford and Clint Eastwood, they've all been doing it forever. where they are acting and writing and directing, and people don't think of it when the men do it as, oh, that guy's having to cast themselves. They think like, oh, how cool that this person at the top of their field is getting to do anything they want, and they also happen to put themselves in those movies. So
Yeah.
I'm always sort of thinking to myself when I'm in a situation where I'm pitching a giant company and I'm like, yeah, I am going to play this role. And, that doesn't mean I'm right for every part. And some of my movies I don't act in. I did a movie in Louisiana. Everyone was supposed to be from the deep South. There were no roles within my age range. And for that one, I was like, I'm not going to be in that movie, and that's totally okay. But the newest movie that I just directed that we're in post-production on right now, one of the leading guys from the new Mission Impossible movie is my love interest in that. And it was a really wild experience working with this like handsome young actor who is like only done A-list movies, and he's coming onto my set to, make an independent film because he loves storytelling and he wants better roles. And he doesn't only want to be holding a gun opposite Tom Cruise in and he was in Top Gun too.
Okay.
So it's been really, really fun getting to just sort of own your power a little bit and be like, hey, I can do multiple things and I'm good at it and I enjoy it. But that doesn't mean that I'm entitled to it. It doesn't mean anyone owes me any opportunities. And sometimes now when I go and act on other people's movies, I'm so grateful because I don't have to produce the thing. I don't have to worry about
Right.
feeding everyone on time or meal penalties or union jurisdictions. I get to just go and like be a kid and act, and it's the best. But
100%.
So you,
Makes
you,
total
you
sense.
talk about union restrictions and stuff like that. Like I find that super fascinating. And the reason why I find it fascinating is because I mean, I understand that at one point in time, like you need to have representation because people were getting taken advantage of, and it was
totally.
not, like the people at the top could essentially get you to do anything. You were kind of,
Yes.
working slaves. But at
Yeah.
the same time, working when you're doing a movie, you need to do different. You need to work at night sometimes. You need to work at day sometimes. Like you need to get when people are
Yeah.
available. Like there's all these
Yes.
things where it's like here in Nova Scotia, it feels like acting is a Monday to Friday job because they don't do anything on weekends. Versus like I don't know what it's like in LA, but like or where you have to go elsewhere in movies because sometimes you hear things where it's like, oh, we just filmed for like 3 weeks straight and that was it and we were done.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really interesting point because it's been so long since I acted in Halifax that I don't really know how different their union is. But like, I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild and all of these American unions. And I'll say that they have realized that they're going to have runaway production and everyone's going to go non-union if they don't work with you partway there. So
Right.
here, even on a union contract, I am spending tomorrow on set and Sunday on set. And it's like weird hours and the unions are fine with it. Like I still had to do a shit ton of paperwork to make it where now I have the freedom to sort of do what I need, but they're
Yeah.
not like getting in the way so much, but they do. When you're shooting a sex scene, you have to have 72 hours beforehand, everything cleared, all of the paperwork done. You can't be spontaneous. You have to have an intimacy coordinator. These are good
Yes.
things. These are bad things, depending on if you have a safe set and you are going to treat people respectfully and professionally anyway.
Right.
So I think you get why these rules need to be there because there are people that have abused them, but
Of
most of
course.
us aren't going to abuse those rules. And then it
Right.
does make it harder to make art.
Well,
And
it's like
costly too, right? And the budget kind of creeps up too because you're trying to do
Budget creeps up.
something on a shoestring,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
well,
On yes.
it's like when we make any rule, like we make rules in society for the lowest common denominators, right? We make them for the people that are not going to listen to the right way of
Completely.
doing things, right?
Yes.
But the unfortunate part to that is like, like I mean, there's costs, there's all these other things that go along. I mean, you hear movies where people have to sit in makeup for like 4, 5, 6, 7 hours to get whatever it is, and then they got to go and do an act and act for
It's
whatever.
crazy. And like, yeah, and there are rules, and some of these again are good, but we have a thing called turnaround that you have to have X amount of hours after you're wrapped before the crew is allowed back on set. But like, let's say you were trying to make sure you have a shot that happens before dusk, and the second it gets dark, you're screwed and you can't do it. There are
Right.
so many times that I, as a filmmaker, have been running outside trying to catch like the last light before I lose this sunset so I can make this beautiful Terrence Malick-esque scene. And yet I have a strict supervisor being like, you can't shoot without this clearance. And you're like,
Right.
God, I'm just trying to make art and you are stopping it and I'm losing my mind.
Yes.
But
And that's exactly what I was thinking, is like, there's unions and we need them for so people don't get abused. But at the same time, when you are the artist and you're trying to create art, you almost become neurotic about wanting to get it right.
insane.
Yeah.
You become insane. And like, I basically can't put children in anything I do because the amount of hours that kids are allowed to be on set is so prohibitive. Like, we're talking like at certain ages, you're allowed to have like a baby work for an hour. And it's not that I believe that children should be there all day, but it makes it impossible to get your scene, you know?
Because John
And it's hard.
Stamos fired the Olsen twins, right? Like,
Yes.
that's a
Right.
little fun fact that he got the Olsen twins fired because they were crying too much and they couldn't get the
So
scenes
funny.
done. And then he had to bring them back because it turns out babies are hard to work with. And
Babies
the
are
other babies,
so hard to work with.
the other babies were worse than the Olsen twins. So the Olsen twins were the best of the worst kind of thing, right?
Oh my
No,
gosh.
it's so hard. It's a ridiculous fact, but in my last movie, there's a scene with a cat, and we tried to use my own cat, and my cat was terrible on camera, and we had to fire my cat and get a professional cat to come in. And I was like, no one's safe. You know, I was like, we need this scene to work, and yeah.
You fired your own cat?
I fired my own cat. We had to get a professional cat.
Your cat is plotting your death now.
100%. We were
Yeah.
like, this is like, and we got a famous person's cat. So it ended up being a Nepo cat. And I was like, wow, this is the
Wow.
worst. Yeah.
Dude, so like, I'm assuming like how do you pay cats? Like how does that work? Like, I mean,
Well,
I've always been
according
curious
to
about it.
PETA, they don't even want you to use pets at all. Like, they
Yes, I know.
literally
Yeah.
don't agree with animals. A friend of mine is doing a movie about Ernest Hemingway, and he famously had many cats. He didn't hurt his cats, but they just lived on the compound where he lived. And
Right.
PETA called this director and were like, hey, we're asking that you don't put animals on camera. And she's like, I'm not going to hurt them. I'm not making them jump through hoops. We just
Yeah.
want there to be cats. And they were like, yeah, please, no animals. So if you were to ask, PETA, we wouldn't have any animals in it. I think it's fine if you're not doing anything that's exploitative. My cat was fired because he wouldn't like do a double take. Like, I needed him to do certain things, and this cat just like lay there and looked pissed off.
That's
But
probably when, like, remember Sabrina the Teenage Witch in like the late 90s?
yes, the fake animatronic cat.
Yeah, they had Salem in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's
moving lips.
probably because of that's that
Or the
big, yeah, that's
robot, yeah.
probably why. They're
Oh my
terrible to
gosh.
work with. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, remember The Littlest Hobo? Do you guys remember that? Like, there was a show that used to come on
Yes.
CBC, and it was
Canadian
on
classics.
for years. Yeah, and those
That's
weird
very
videos
funny.
in the '80s where men used to dress up as dogs and do dog things where they couldn't have dogs before they had CGI. Those were the best movies.
Wow.
There was a movie where a dog was a detective, and it's absolutely fantastic to watch. I forget what it was called, but
It's
I like
not.
weird
You sent it to me. It's not fantastic. It's terrible.
I was gonna say that sounds terrifying, but that's amazing.
It's
Matt,
pretty
if you
awful.
find
But
that clip and send it to Sonia. I'm sure I would love to see her input on
Please,
this.
yes,
on this
please,
direction.
please
It's
send me
fantastic.
the human
What-
furry dog people.
Oh
That's
my
so
gosh.
fun.
Yeah. So I mean, talking about cats and stuff, this is all great because we did want to ask you too about like now you've demonstrated through this podcast, your business mindset, your artistic mindset. Like, and I'm like this a lot too. I mean, with what I do with creating and producing and management and dealing with stuff, and also us having a general tone. We want to be supportive of people. We want to bring everyone to the center. So we don't want to put too much negative opinions in our material of other people, right? So we have certain things that we silently follow, but we also have opinions and hearts and artistic integrity and all that other stuff. How do you
Yes.
balance like the business brain and the artistic soul, because those are two conflicting beasts.
Yes. I will say that right now, I can never go and see anyone's movie and put an opinion online that is negative, even though I have strong opinions. And I go and watch movies and I love theatrical criticism. I love reading reviews. I am very interested in why something works and why something creatively doesn't work. But I can't put opinions anywhere online because I have big agents and managers who set me meetings with all of those companies every day. So I would absolutely, and I see some of my moronic peers out there being like, dude, my Letterboxd review about this movie. And then I'm like, you're going to be meeting with Guillermo del Toro's company next week. And now they have a reason not to hire you. Like, be smart, you know? And I think that it's like,
So good
if
to
you
say,
think of it as I don't have to say yes to jobs that I get that aren't creatively aligned. Like I turned down a project with Michael Bay's company. That would have been a bunch of money, but I'm not the right person to tell that story. I'm not into the kind of movies that necessarily, that doesn't mean they're never going to make a movie that I want to direct, but the script that they sent me wasn't right for me. And I know lots of other people could have elevated it and made it very cool, but it's thinking of it as big picture, that why would I want to burn any bridge when you never know when somebody's going to be like, yes, right now I only direct giant tentpole franchise films, but maybe I'm going to want this Oscar drama that's a biopic. And I'd be like, I'd kill to be in that movie or make that movie. So I do try to think about the big picture of it all and that everyone is accessible and looks on social media, and anything that you say on there can and will be used against you. So to be savvy, you know? So I'm very aware of that.
Yeah. It seems like you are, and that's awesome that you can keep that so conscientious and all. I mean, and like the other thing about art is, I just want to say the other side of it, art speaks for itself. So if you make something that's not outwardly lecturing people on how they should think and let people just interpret it, more times than not, you know, the humans are pretty smart, right? Like I have a little bit of faith in us as a whole, and they're going to see that piece of work, and that might help. That's what really moves the needle, is the artwork itself and the movie itself.
I had a pitch yesterday at Sony, and when I was there, one of the big things that we were talking about was how we don't necessarily need to dumb down our scripts just because people are watching Netflix and also on their phone and they're scrolling and they're not really paying attention.
Absolutely.
This is a big thing right now.
It is. But that means that there are companies that will want that, but I'm not the right storyteller for that because I don't want to I think audiences are inherently far more intelligent. And for that same reason, if I'm making social commentary horror movies, I don't think it should feel like you're having to take your medicine and that it feels so heavy-handed in trying to like force some sort of
100%.
like political ideology. Like
Both
it should
worlds can live.
also
Like I
be
love
on its
hip hop
own.
music, and there's rap music that's super intellectual and super deep and thoughtful, introspective to the black community and the sensibilities of the ghetto and everything people have been through. There's other black like hip hop music that's just like dumb and fun, and I like both. Right,
And there's room for all of this, right?
there's room for all of it, and it's the same in film, and it's the same in writing, and it should be the same for us as writers too. It's like I can produce something that is meaningful, and I can produce something that is dumb and fluffy and fun and makes no sense and is almost forgettable, but it just made you smile, because both of those things to me are extremely important.
Completely. Like right now, I am writing a movie that I think will probably be very much like that Sydney Sweeney, The Housemaid. And I'm going to get paid a bunch of money and it's going to be a cool job, but I don't want to direct that one. I'm also making this grounded sci-fi that's very much like Annihilation meets Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And that's my baby. And that's the thing that I know will like go to the big film festivals, but there's room for both of these things, and saying yes to both of those opportunities will keep rising my platform. So I keep on getting to do cool work. But it's like, don't put yourself so in one lane that you think you can only do one thing, because that's so limiting.
There's a director.
See, I think what's next for you is to write a great movie about these two guys that do a podcast that just drink while doing it.
You're like, it's this two-hander Canadian classic. I have to see it.
So like,
Exactly.
there's a director.
Love-
Gosh, Matt, you're gonna help me with his name because you know what I'm like. So Matt knows, or you'll know now that I'm terrible with like pronouncing anything. The gentleman that made Thor 2, Thor 3.
Oh, what? Yeah.
Taika.
Why to T or whatever?
Taika Waititi. Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Like to me, he is one of the like satirically funniest like create writers that I've ever seen.
Brilliant.
Like
Yeah.
he writes stuff, but he also made blockbusters. And when he made Thor, there's just little nuggets of his humor in there that are so great and so unique to that entire franchise that make that movie to me one of my favorites. Like, and I like all the Marvel movies. But I mean, I also love more art style pictures or whatever you want to call them, movies
Sure.
with real emotional depth. And I mean, one thing I think is like when I see directors like him work, I appreciate the big blockbusters because it brings people into his other work. Like We Are in the
Yes.
Shadows, where he has the parody, the vampires, and other things that might be a little bit more intellectual, even. And you get to see a broader scope of what this guy can do, right?
I mean, I think that's great. I think it's
Yeah.
the way to make more obscure work accessible by making something that is, that is appreciated on a global scale. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you can go and be, whether you like Chloe Zhao's like Eternals movie or whatever, if you can go and make a movie that wins the Oscar, that's like a small grounded film, and then make a Marvel movie, like the amount of people that are going to suddenly be able to see her new movie Hamnet, it's like, it's really, really wise to diversify your portfolio, right? And to not just do the same thing.
I 100% agree. That's why, like, as much as I love Martin Scorsese and pretty much everything he does, because I love mob movies and everything, his opinion on Marvel movies, I strongly disagree with, and I think he's short-sighted on this, right?
But I also think he's kind of coming around in other ways. Like he's started to be really complimentary of all the horror movie directors. Like he loves Ari Aster, who did Midsommar. And I think
That was a
now
great
he's
movie, though. That was
starting-
awesome.
So good. It's fantastic. But I
Yeah.
think now he's like, Marty is trying to be like, look, I like populist art too. Look at me
Yeah.
liking horror movies and hip films. So I think it's like his way of being like, look, I don't only like erudite old man stuff. So maybe he's starting to see the error in his ways.
I have a hot
know.
take right now you might shoot down, but I
Ooh.
think that horror movies are actually some of the most artistic films we have right now of their time in the last 5 years. Like I've seen more horror films that I'm just like, wow, that was brilliantly
Incredible.
shot. I love the performances in it, and I've taken so much more away from it than just a Freddy Krueger like figure or something, right? Like
No, I
what?
love that. I agree
Really
wildly.
I got a even bigger hot take there for that.
Yeah.
I am a horror fan. I love horror movies. I watched The Exorcist when I was like too young, right? I think I was like 9 years old or 10 years old when I watched The Exorcist. Love horror movies. My hot take is, as much as I love them, I think only 20% of horror movies are actually good.
I agree with both of these takes because, like, I think right now every prestige filmmaker is being pushed into making horror movies because that's the one place where there's ROI for our investments. So
Right.
people will go and see horror movies. So there are many drama directors that are pretending they're making a horror, but they're really making like a psychological drama. And you'll see those movies, and the horror fans are like, this isn't really horror. Like, it's the reason that horror movie people don't like it when you say you're making an elevated horror movie. They're like, fuck you. Like, it's, it doesn't need to be elevated. It can just be, a schlocky horror film. And there's room for that too. But
Yeah.
then, like, what you were saying, that only a percentage of them are good, for sure, because there's more horror movies being greenlit every day than any other genre. So there are so many of them that even just statistically, many of them are going to be with non-famous actors. Many of those actors, are acting their hearts out, but aren't necessarily any good. And the scripts are riddled with cliches. But the good ones, and we all know what those are like some of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
And like the new movie I'm doing right now is in the vein of The Substance. And it's like balls to the wall insane. And
We
like, I
love The
love
Substance.
that stuff.
Andrea and I, or my partner and I, we watched The Substance, and we thought it was one of the best movies we saw of the year. Like, we were
Oh,
just
it's
blown away.
incredible, right? And it
Blown
was
away.
so great to see
Yeah.
it like win Oscars. And I was at Cannes when this was all happening. And I was like, wow, this is like this moment for body horror. And like in a way that it's very exciting.
And it
And,
ticked all
you
the
know what?
boxes. Yeah.
Oh, the other thing too is like when it comes to like horror movies. I mean, you can get like lower budget, non like no name actors and do well. Like the first Paranormal Activity movie was awesome.
Right.
They
Agreed.
got not
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good after that, but like the
yeah.
first one was like incredible, right? And then you
Yes,
can
I
get the
remember.
bigger ones, like like everyone seems to do zombie movies. Honestly, like I get a little bit kind of tired of zombie movies because I find zombies in general are kind of one dimensional. It's kind of like you got to move on or whatever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of zombie movies in Canada, The Last of Us was filmed in Canada, and it's to this day it is like the number one show that has brought more revenue to Canada in film than any other film in Canada.
Know that. That's really cool. I
Yeah.
know
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of people that worked on that show, and I have a friend at HBO who's like the exec on that show,
That show
and
is
I'm
brilliant,
obsessed
too.
with it. That's
It's
so
so well
cool.
done. It's such a well done show.
It's amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't play the game because I'm not a gamer, but I can tell you right now when, and I mean, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't watched it, but like when Joel dies, like both my wife and I were like, what? Like, holy crap, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I played the game 10 years before I saw the show, and I mean it worked on both ends for us. Like, I loved it. Like when we watched that show again, we were very fully immersed. Great performance.
I mean, that's exactly a perfect example of the kind of work that I want to do, where it's both commercially accessible, but also brilliant acting, grounded work. It's smart, it's important, it's emotionally available. Like that's the kind of work that I think it's like genre work, but it's just uniformly brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly hope, I hope people listening here and everything, I would love to see you bring work to Nova Scotia personally. That would be super cool. Like if you can write, direct, and bring work. Because one, Mike and I have covered this through this year. Like we firmly believe that artists, people in the film industry are entrepreneurs. They are a form of they don't get that label very often, right?
Yeah.
They kind of the arts get cut easily oftentimes. They're not looked at as an economic powerhouse, but they really can be. And they really can be when it's people like yourself who now have moved to LA and could have the potential of bringing LA money to Halifax.
It's
right?
true. Like the Canadian movie that I'm directing is a $7 million Canadian budget. And like all of that, we have to hire all Canadians, So it's a lot of jobs for a lot of people for those 6 weeks,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I want to shoot a movie that's part in Nova Scotia and part in PEI. So I do have something that I'm planning.
Zombie, the Anna Green Gables.
Can you imagine?
That'd be kind of a cool
That's
idea.
amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Wait, Matt, I mean, we've been going on about an hour, and I don't want to keep you too long, Sonja. I mean, I've been really loving this conversation. I love the hot take questions too, just because the New York thing. I feel like this is natural for you. I'm sure you watched that Subway show where he asked the hot take questions. Have you seen that?
A guest on that.
You've been a guest on that.
Yeah, my episode has 2 million views. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and find it because I thought I've seen like all of them, but I obviously have not.
That's my favorite show, right? That's my favorite thing on Instagram today is his show.
So funny. Yeah.
I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I think he does a great job.
Yeah, go look at my episode of Subway Takes. It's on my social media too. You'll find it.
Okay.
I'll have a look. Thank you. So I mean, here's a hot take for you. Blair Witch Project, maybe one of the most popular films ever made in Nova Scotia. Great movie or not so great?
I don't love that movie. I think that when I saw it originally, it really freaked me out. but I know one of the actress who's in it. I know her in real life, and they got so underpaid on that project that she ended up suing Lionsgate, and it's been like a whole thing when they wanted to do a re-release. So I think that like I am
No
just
way.
so protective of the way that those people got exploited that even though I think the movie's good, I'm like not supportive of it just because I'm like, pay your actors, give them residuals, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
love movies
classic
that are
movie.
great and brave and in a new lane. I thought I could not stand that movie. I could not get into it.
Really?
It made me feel sick and
Interesting.
terrible. It made me feel like sick inside watching the camera shake and stuff. I just couldn't get
Yes,
into it.
I as somebody who likes more like sophisticated, beautiful cinematography, I
Mm,
do actually have a really hard time with shaky steady cam and like docu style. Like there are moments that shots can be motivated and you want that tension, but I can't
sure.
watch 2 hours of that. Absolutely not.
That's how I felt about it. Yeah.
Do you know what?
Mhm.
I actually, to this day remember sitting in that and watching it. And I really enjoyed it. But I remember about getting about halfway through this, and when like everything started to go down, and everything like that. I remember in my brain, like in the theater, looking at it and go, if they show this damn witch, I'm leaving. Because the fact that you didn't see her was way more scarier than if they would have showed that witch. I would it would have it like would not have been scary. It would have probably been hokey because it was in the 90s,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that they chose not to show them was the right move. And if
Agreed.
anyone listening right now, sometimes you have to realize that not showing something is scarier than showing something.
Totally
Way
agree.
scarier.
Totally agree.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that
I
I
think
agree with.
ending on that point, that's
Yeah.
that I fully
Don't
agree. I
don't put
think
a
that people
CGI monster
ruin
into your film 45
no,
minutes
it
in.
ruins it. It's like
Ruins it.
do
As
not
soon as you see
show.
it, you just
Yes.
all of that emotion you've invested into the film, it just drops, and you're just like, "That's what I'm looking
Yes.
at." Yeah,
Agreed.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, Matt's okay there,
Awesome.
and we're going to get into 10 questions here as soon
Yeah,
as he
I'm
returns.
just
Great.
I'm just copying the questions over there because
Oh,
my
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So 10 questions, a little game we play at the end of our show. It's just kind of fun, sometimes dumb questions and sometimes
Yes.
intelligent questions. Okay. So I'll kick off question one. What is one movie that you can watch over and over again and never get sick of?
The David Lynch movie Mulholland Drive. I have seen that movie more than any movie in the whole world. It's a mind fuck, but I love it.
Never saw it once. I'll have to
Well, you
watch it.
need to see it.
That's
It's
on my
crazy.
list. Officially
It's
this evening.
absolutely bonkers and weird and surreal, and it doesn't make sense, and it's creepy. And I watched it the night before moving to LA because it's about an actress in LA, and it like fucked me up. So it's good.
Awesome. I will check that out. Thank you.
Dibby, I'm trying to send these over to me. I'm having some technical difficulties here because I'm on my phone now because my computer went all weird.
No.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Matt. Here, I'll read question two, and when you can get this going, you just jump on
Actually,
in. Okay?
can you do me a better favor? Can
Sure.
you send those? Oh wait, they just came through. Never mind. All right, so we
Oh
can
Okay,
yeah.
cut that
good.
all out. We can
All
cut them
right.
all out. I emailed them to myself, so I went to
Okay.
my work computer. There we go.
Cool.
All right. Okay, so question number two. So we all know that to make it in this industry, people have to work odd jobs and things like that. And I know we talked about how you had to stay within your lane because of the way
Yes.
your visa worked, but was there any weird or strange jobs that you worked, to get through?
Yes.
Tell us what they are.
One of them, I would type for a blind playwright. So I had to like write out all of her thoughts, which was weird and wild. And then another one, my first year in New York, I would pose for art classes, like for painters at Painters College, like pose naked for art classes and you're drawn. So that was definitely one that like got me past all of my insecurities at like 20 years old.
That
So,
sounds
and
like
we
Yeah,
got a
that
two
would.
lot of
different
cool
movies you
paintings.
could make right there. Yeah, especially
Completely.
the blind writer. That
The
sounds
blind
amazing.
writer. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Question number three.
What's your go-to comfort food? What do you like?
Well, I'm a cheese person, so I eat like blocks of brie, like they're like a chocolate bar. So I
Hilarious.
love cheese, all the
Now,
cheese.
now,
Mhm.
now, Canadian poutine. Do you like that, or is that a little?
Obsessed. Best
Yeah.
food, and you can't get it here. And when I go to Montreal this summer, I can't wait to have poutine.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's the
Yeah.
Okay.
best.
Number four, Matt.
Question number four. So, okay, I'm sure you've seen Black Mirror.
Of
So
course.
the more recent season, they had an episode where you could insert yourself into a movie. So into like a movie verse. So if you could insert yourself into any movie verse, what movie would it be?
It's cheesy, but I probably would choose La La Land because I've always really identified with Emma Stone, and I've always thought that was like my ideal like trajectory. So I'd be in La La Land.
Redheads got to stick together, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And she's the loveliest person. When I met her, she is so kind and so gracious. So
She
I'm very
seems like
happy for her.
she seems like someone who would be like real.
The
Yeah.
coolest, like funny and self-effacing and like a nerd and like just like the coolest person. You're like very, very lovely.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next question. What's your favorite, like, kind of guilty pleasure entertainment? So this is not thinking of an artistic art house variety, but maybe leaning in a little more into something that's probably a little silly.
Oh God.
Yeah, what's your Love is Blind?
Oh man. There must be something. I feel like I feel like you, it's like what it's subway takes. Obviously, I was on that, so but things like online scrolling, like I really will get like lost in like stupid cat videos and stuff. So it's really like the silly cooking videos on Instagram is like probably my like lowbrow entertainment.
Okay.
So yeah,
Respect. Both of those things, I spend way too much time watching cat videos.
way too much time.
Mostly because
All
of
right.
my partner and kid. Yeah, I get it.
So question number 6.
Yes.
So if you could pick one leading actor, one leading actress of over any time to star in a movie that you are going to direct, who are you picking and what genre are you picking?
God, I would definitely pick I've always wanted to do a great drama about somebody in a mental institution, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or something.
Nice.
One of my favorite
And
movies. Amazing movie.
it's
Yeah.
so fucking great.
Yeah.
And I would love to have used, God, oh man, it's so funny. I think about casting all day long and I'm like constantly like assessing actors' values. And now I'm like, if I could have like anyone in the whole world. I mean, right now, I would really still like to. Leonardo DiCaprio never works with female directors, and I want to be the first female director that he
Really?
works with. Yes. So I would
I
cast
wonder why that
Leonardo
is.
DiCaprio and I think Katharine Hepburn in
Oh,
my like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, version, like mental sanitarium crazy, crazy movie. Yes.
Okay.
wow.
Cool.
Okay.
Love it.
All right. Question number 7 over to you.
Okay. What would your theme song be? What's the song that pumps you up?
God. It's super lame and super annoying, but me and my ex-boyfriend, who's an actor, who's now my best friend, every time we don't get an acting role, we play the Taylor Swift Shake It Off. And that has gotten us through many sort of like dancing crazily moments of like, fuck this industry, but also we're going to keep going. So that's it. Yes. So,
All right, question number 8. If you weren't allowed to use a camera ever again, how would you tell stories?
oh God. I mean, I love making art on all of my movies. I like to make like the hand props. I was working on a movie the other day where my character was described as a trash angel, and she like lives in this like pile of beautiful Christmas lights and illuminated sparkling trash. And I ended up working with the art team and like made all of it myself. So I think I would physically be like like some sort of sculptor. That would
That sounds
be
like a lot of fun.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Didn't see that one coming, but yeah. Question number 9 over you, Tobin.
So this is a question for someone that kind of took everything. She went to New York, went to LA. Do you think location matters anymore in our digital world? Like where you live?
If
the opportunity?
I moved to LA in 2018.
Mhm.
If I had waited 2 years more, I was told I could have stayed in New York and I never would have had to go, because then, like, as long as you have the ability to be able to work in the States, I
Hmm.
could have done it from anywhere. So I
Yeah.
don't think now it matters nearly as much. You still need the ability to have the papers to work in like the UK or wherever else. But besides that, almost all of my meetings, unfortunately, are Zooms, even though I live 20 minutes away from Warner Brothers and 10 minutes away from Paramount. But I do ask for my meetings to be in person, and I
Hmm.
usually am more likely to book if I can be in front of somebody.
Great
But
answer. Yeah.
yeah, I want it to be more in person. But yeah.
There is some like there does seem to be a bit of a decentralization happening in Hollywood, because where a lot of like A-listers have chosen to live in like
Oh,
Wyoming
yeah.
or something like that, right?
Yeah. Everyone moves away. Most of the work, every time I do a movie, they're usually not in LA. And none of our auditions are in person. Everything is online. So you probably could live almost anywhere now, but the people that I meet that get me my next job are all people that I meet socially in New York or LA. So I still think you have to like know the people, but once
Yeah.
you do, I could live in Halifax now probably and take all my meetings by Zoom and still be fine. Crazy.
Networking is still the king, right? It's
It
still the king.
still is. It still is. And somebody said this well yesterday to me. They were like, people don't hire people just because they know them. They have to like you. So I think it's like networking is superficial, but people hire their friends. People hire people that they genuinely like.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
true.
So
Yeah.
question number 10, is there a style of film that you have zero interest in going near?
This is going to sound terrible, but as a director, I never want to direct a comedy ever in my life.
Really?
I
I
love
know.
comedies.
And
Oh my
as an
gosh.
actor, I love being in comedies, and I'm funny and I get to do pratfalls and it's great.
Yeah.
As a director, I like to direct visually beautiful things. And I think comedies, we don't really get to do incredible cinematography and like heartfelt weeping
Okay.
actors.
You
And
obviously haven't seen
that's
Natural
why.
Libre, because that's a visually beautiful film. Okay, start to
I
finish.
have
I don't.
not seen that.
There's not a frame
Basically, I've
wrong in that
seen
movie.
every drama and no comedies. So that
Okay.
is like,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's some great comedies with great cinematography. I think they can
People say it.
coexist.
I think that dramedies are the sweet spot, because I think
Dramedies.
there should be
Okay.
Dramas.
levity. There should be
Sure.
levity in everything.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm
Bad
never
Words.
going to direct a
Another
big
really
comedy.
funny comedy with great cinematography with
Which
Jason
one? Which one
Bateman.
was that?
Jason Bateman. Almost everyone. That's a really popular one. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Great cinematography. Very funny movie. Yeah.
that's so funny.
That's a bit of a bonus question, because I meant to ask you this earlier, and you know what?
Yeah.
We can cut it if like it doesn't make sense either too.
Yeah.
But being Canadian, having the red hair, rocking the last name O'Hara, is that a shout out to Catherine?
Love Catherine, and people recently when she passed away, I had multiple people that thought I was related to her that
Yeah.
reached out. And
Yeah.
I love her so much. So I think it became the greatest compliment that I've
Yeah.
ever had. And under my Subway Takes video, multiple people said, is she related to Catherine O'Hara? And I was like, my God,
Oh,
I wish.
yeah.
So, but she was truly like one of the greats. So it makes me so sad.
She
I
was in The
know.
Last of Us and like rocked it, killed it. Like,
And the studio,
Yeah.
she's so good on the studio. She's so
yeah,
funny.
Schitt's
Yeah.
Creek,
I still have to
Home
watch that. I haven't
Alone,
seen it yet. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Canadian
underratedly.
treasure.
Yeah,
agreed.
underratedly great actress who could do like drama and was funny, right?
Agreed. 10 out of 10. Yes, she's brilliant. Agreed. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So that's
We
good.
got through all the questions. Do we want? What's the last one, Matt? We asked people. It's do the advice one. What's one?
We bounce back and forth. Like, so we'll
I
let
like
you
the advice
choose.
ones. Let's do the advice one.
Okay.
So, what's one piece of advice you were given in your lifetime from anybody that you can remember? Oh, there's a cat. Halo.
The cat I fired.
That you'd like to pass down. So, a piece of advice you were given in your lifetime that you want to pass down.
think just don't wait for permission to create. Like the amount of time that actors wait for opportunities for other people to give them in order to be able to go and have this dream. And I say again and again, like, don't wait around. Don't make that short film and then decide that that's it and that you can't make a feature. There are ways, there are grants, there are application processes. Like, just go and make that movie that you want to make. And if you build that team, all of the opportunities and the doors will open. Like, I think leadership is a lot of it, but when I started to own my power, everything I needed came together to be able to facilitate what I needed. So you just have to take that first step and believe in yourself. And it sounds cheesy, but it's really true.
Love it.
No, that's great. Oh, that's great advice. Yeah.
Tons of inspiration in this conversation. I really want to thank you so much, Sonja, for trusting us. And
thank you for having me. This was so lovely. And when I come to Halifax, I'd like to get a beer with you both in real life.
Yes, please. Absolutely.
Yeah. Round 2 anytime. Nice to meet you again.
Amazing.
Well, cheers to
Such
you.
a pleasure. Amazing. Oh, here you go. Have a good one.